So, if compared to root and stem, differences, point in root epidermis, it produces only unicellular outgrowths. Root epidermis produce unicellular outgrowths called root hairs. So, because of root hairs, root epidermis is called epiblemma or rhizodermis or piliferous layer. Here this stem epidermis produce multicellular outgrowths called trichomes. They produce multicellular outgrowths called trichomes. So, root epidermis produce unicellular outgrowths called root hairs, stem epidermis produce multicellular outgrowths called trichomes. Then root epidermis, in which stomata and cuticle absent, root epidermis, stomata and cuticle absent, but stem epidermis contains cuticle and stomata. Then even here I am talking about leaf. If you take leaf, even leaf contains stomata and cuticle. So, point is root is without stomata and cuticle, stem and leaf contains stomata and cuticle. Then ground tissue of root and stem is called a cortex. Ground tissue of root and stem is called cortex. Then point, in roots there is exodermis, but in stems it is hypodermis. In both roots there is exodermis. That exodermis is made up of suberin, and it performs two functions. Old roots, it acts as protective layer, and generally it prevents that leakage of absorbed water. In stems, exodermis is replaced by hypodermis, but point is in dicot stem hypodermis colon chimatus. So, it performs photosynthesis and mechanical support, but monocot stem, it is totally scleron chimatus. It provides only mechanical support. Then general cortex, here general cortex in roots, both roots contains general cortex. Then in roots, function of general cortex, lateral conduction and storage. But in dicot stem, outer cortex perform photosynthesis, inner cortex help in storage. Monocot stem, it is absent. Then next one, endodermis. Endodermis is well developed in roots. Both roots endodermis is well developed. That endodermis contains Casparian thickenings. They are lignosuberin thickenings. That are lignosuberin thickenings, they impervious to water. That is why some of the endodermal cells shows thin walled. Such thin walled cells are called passage or transfusion cells. They help in conduction. In dicot stem, there is endodermis, but it stores starch sheath. It stores starch grains, so called a starch sheath. Monocot stem, endodermis is absent. Then next one, stele. It includes pericycle. Pericycle present in both roots, but point is in roots generally it is unilayered, and in roots it produces lateral roots, but only in dicot root pericycle produce both the cork cambium and a vascular cambium. Old monocot root, it is scleron chimatus. Dicot stem, pericycle is multilayered. Then it is scleron chimatus, but only in sunflower. It has, along with sclerenchyma, that a parenchyma is present. Monocot stem, that pericycle is absent. Then vascular bundles, radial vascular bundles. In roots, vascular bundles are called radial. Radial means xylem and phloem separate, alternate, present on different radii, called radial vascular bundles. Radial and a xylem differentiation, centripetal means exarch xylem, but stems collateral vascular bundles. So, collateral vascular bundles present in stems. Then in stems xylem differentiation is centrifugal, so end arc. So, roots radial and exarch, stems collateral and end arc. Then individually dicot root contains limited vascular bundles, generally tetrarch. Among stem, dicot stem contains limited vascular bundles, 10 to 20. Roots polyarch, more than 6 vascular bundles. Here numerous vascular bundles present in this monocot stem. So, point, if arrange the root and stem in ascending order, based on number of vascular bundles. First dicot root, generally 4. Next monocot root, then next dicot stem, numerous scattered vascular bundles, monocot stem, that is ascending order. Or descending order means first monocot stem, then dicot stem, then monocot root and dicot root. These are vascular bundles. Then in dicot stem, medulla is enlarged. So, enlarged medulla among stems, dicot stem enlarged, monocot stem absent. Among root, enlarged medulla, monocot root, reduced dicot root. If question, arrange the roots and stems based on diameter of medulla. In such case, first this a monocot stem totally absent, then a root, which root means dicot root, then monocot root and finally dicot stem. So, once again, based on size or diameter of medulla, parts of root or stem, first monocot stem totally absent, then dicot root scanty, then monocot root enlarged, finally dicot stem medulla. Then medullary rays, these are extensions of medulla. Extensions of medulla called medullary rays. They are useful for lateral conduction. But among stems, medullary rays present in dicot, monocot stem absent. Then in roots, in roots, medullary cells are replaced by conjunctive tissue. So, both roots contains conjunctive tissue, but only in dicot root, conjunctive tissue gives vascular and cork cambium. In dicot root, monocot root, conjunctive tissue, sclerenchymatous. In dicot stem, these medullary rays, they produce what means interfascicular cambium. So, dicots and monocot are these differences among root and stem. Now, overall root, stem and a leaf. So, point is ground tissue of root and stem is called cortex, but ground tissue of leaf is called mesophyll, and mesophyll major for what means photosynthesis. And point, radial vascular bundles, roots, collateral vascular bundles, stems and leaves, radial and exarch, roots, collateral end arc, stems, open vascular bundles, dicot stem, closed vascular, if question, closed vascular bundles, roots, then monocot stem and both leaves called closed vascular bundles. Or if question, radial and closed means roots. If question, collateral and closed, monocot stem and both leaves. Roots and stems, only one epidermis present, but leaves, epidermis present on both adaxial and abaxial side. Endodermis with many passage cells present in. Actually, answer is maize. What is passage cell actually? What is passage cell? Passage cell means your endodermis contains Casparian thickenings. These Casparian thickenings are impermeable to water, but some of the cells exactly opposite to protoxylem, they are thin walled, called passage cells or transfusion cells. It means number of passage cells are equal to that number of xylem bundles. So, point trappa. Trappa is monarch. Monarch means one vascular bundle. So, in trappa, one passage cell is present. Then castor. Castor is pentarch. 5 vascular bundles present. So, number of passage cells 5. Castanea. Castanea 8. 8 vascular bundles, octarch. So, 8 passage cells. Then monocot root, polyarch, numerous vascular bundles. So, answer is maize. Many passage cells present in maize. Then arrange the following plant pods based on vascular bundle number in increasing order. Increasing order. Vascular bundles in increasing order. So, first this dicot root because tetrarch. Afterwards, monocot root more than 6. Then dicot stem and monocot stem. So, ascending order 1, 2, 3 and 4. The next one reduced medulla. Here reduced medulla, dicot root, medulla is reduced, but monocot root enlarged. Dicot stem, enlarged medulla. Monocot stem, reduced or absent. So, my answer monocot stem reduced or absent, or even dicot root reduced or absent. So, answer is third. Then colonchimatous hypodermis present in, remember colonchymous is absent in monocot stem and roots of all plants. So, first option maize stem, maize means monocot. So, colonchyma absent. Then jowar, jowar is monocot. Jowar is monocot. So, even in jowar stem, colonchyma is absent. Then next one sugarcane, even sugarcane is monocot stem. So, coloncyma is absent. So, it is present in dicot stem. So, answer is sunflower. In sunflower stem, colonchimatous hypodermis present. Then all 3 types of simple tissues present in. What are simple tissues? Parenchyma, coloncyma and sclerenchyma. So, roots, just now I told, in roots coloncyma is absent. So, pisum root, no coloncyma, right. Then sugarcane root, no coloncyma. When helianthus root means coloncyma is absent. So, these 3 are not correct. If you take helianthus stem, epidermis, even cortex is parenchymatous. Then hypodermis, hypodermis is colonchimatous, hypodermis. So, pericycle is sclerenchymatous. So, all 3 types of simple tissues present in helianthus stem. Next question, open type of vascular bundles present in What is open type? Open type of vascular bundles means if chemium present in between xylem and phloem, it is called open type. So, open type of vascular bundles present in dicot stem and gymnosperms. So, your answer pisum stem, it is dicot, cycas stem, it is gymnosperm, sugarcane stem, it is monocot. So, answer is 1 and 2, pisum stem and cycas stem. The next one, closed vascular bundles. Closed vascular bundles means if chemium is absent. Chemium is absent called closed vascular bundles. Generally, closed vascular bundles present in roots, monocot stem and both leaves. So, answer dicot root, monocot root, monocot leaf. In all these three parts, vascular bundles are closed. So, answer is 4, all. Then, next one, chemium present in between vascular bundle. Chemium present in between vascular bundle. Actually, chemium is present in dicot stem. So, these are vascular bundles. So, chemium in between vascular bundles is interfascicular chemium. In between. So, it is interfascicular chemium. And actually, interfascicular chemium is produced from medullary rays. By what? De-differentiation. So, it is produced by de-differentiation means it is secondary. So, chemium present in between vascular bundles. Fascicular? No. Interfascicular? Correct. And it is secondary. So, answer is 2 and 3. The next one, chemium present within vascular bundle. Here within vascular bundles means actually primary vascular tissues, phloem, xylem. These primary vascular tissues, phloem and xylem, they develop from procambium. After formation of these vascular tissues, some amount of procambium persists in between vascular bundle, inside vascular bundle. That is called fascicular. So, chemium present within vascular bundle. That is what? Intrafascicular. And it is persists part of procambium. So, answer is 2 and 3. Next question, photosynthetic parts in helianthus stem. So, in helianthus stem, which part contains chloroplast? Hypodermis. Hypodermis is colon chimatus. So, it contains chloroplast. Then outer cells in general cortex, they contains chloroplast. So, photosynthetic part, hypodermis and outer cells in cortex, but not endodermis. In endodermis there is no chloroplast. It cannot synthesize food, but it can store food. So, it store food, endodermis, then hypodermis and outer cells in general cortex, they prepare food. So, photosynthetic parts, one is hypodermis and second one outer cells in general cortex. Next question, assertion reasoning type, root hairs are exogenous. So, correct. Why means root hairs are developed from outer layers like epidermis. Particularly, that epidermis contains two types of cells, smaller and larger. Smaller cells called trichoblast. So, they gives root hairs. So, answer both are correct and reason is correct, explanation. So, answer is A. The next one, lateral roots are endogenous, right? Generally parts of root endogenous, exception is root hairs exogenous. Here parts of root endogenous, so lateral roots are endogenous, correct. Reason, they develop from endodermis. Wrong answer. Why means lateral roots develop from pericycle, not endodermis. So answer wrong. So if assertion right, reason wrong. C. Then assimilatory mechanical tissue. Actually simple tissues three types: parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. Parenchyma is non-mechanical tissue, right? Then sclerenchyma is dead tissue. Dead tissue do not perform photosynthesis. So sclerenchyma కాదు, parenchyma కాదు. Parenchyma with chloroplast. It is called a chlorenchyma. Chlorenchyma perform only photosynthesis, not mechanical support. So answer is collenchyma. Collenchyma is living tissue. It contains chloroplast, so it help in assimilation and also gives tensile strength or mechanical support. Then next question, in monocot stem phloem lacks. It means in monocot stem which phloem parts are absent? Fibers? No, fibers present. Monocot stem means angiosperms. Angiosperm means sieve tubes present. Even companion cells present. So answer is parenchyma. So in monocot stem, that a phloem is without parenchyma. Then Y-shaped xylem vessels present in monocot stem. Actually monocot stem xylem vessels few. Among that few, 2 metaxylem vessels and 2 protoxylem vessels. They are arranged in Y shape. So monocot stem xylem vessels very less, 2 metaxylem, 2 protoxylem. They are arranged in Y shape. If question dicot stem, in dicot stem xylem vessels many and arranged linearly. So answer monocot stem. External protective tissues in roots. Option cork and pericycle, epidermis and pericycle, epidermis and hypodermis, epidermis and exodermis. So your answer is epidermis and exodermis. Young root. Young root, it contains what? Epidermis as protective layer. In old root, outer cortical cells become tuberized and forms exodermis. This exodermis forms protective layer. So external protective tissues. Young root means epidermis. Old root means exodermis. So point is external protective tissues. So both epidermis and exodermis. Second one, next question. Intrastellar tissue participate in secondary growth. Secondary growth in roots. So generally secondary growth among roots common in dicot root. Intrastellar tissue means within stele. So within stele there is pericycle. This pericycle, by dedifferentiation, it produces cork cambium and also vascular cambium. In the same way, in between xylem and phloem are adjacent vascular bundles connected by parenchyma. That parenchymatous tissue is called conjunctive tissue. Even conjunctive tissue produce that vascular and a cork cambium. So these two present within stele but participate in intrastellar growth, secondary growth and also extrastellar secondary growth. So, answer is for second one is pericycle and conjunctive tissue. Answer is 4. 4 means 1 and 3, pericycle and conjunctive tissue. The next one, sclerenchymatous part in matured monocot root, medulla, pericycle and conjunctive tissue. All are sclerenchymatous. Monocot root, enlarged medulla is present, but mature root, it is sclerenchymatous. Matured root, this pericycle is sclerenchymatous. Even conjunctive tissues, sclerenchymatous. So, all these three are sclerenchymatous in matured root. The next one, extrastellar ground tissue. So, actually ground tissue two types, extrastellar and intrastellar. So, extrastellar means outside the stele. Outside the stele, exodermis present in roots, then hypodermis present in stems. In both root and stem, there is endodermis, but present outside the stele. So, extrastellar ground tissues, exodermis, hypodermis and endodermis. So, all are extrastellar ground tissues. Next one, intrastellar ground tissue. Intrastellar ground tissue means within stele. Within stele, which tissues present? Pericycle, medulla and a medullary rays. So, these three present within stele. So, intrastellar ground tissue. So, generally ground tissues are parenchymatous. So, all these are made up of what? Parenchyma. So, these are extra and intrastellar ground tissues. Next, T.S of Dicot leaf and a monocot leaf. Both leaves shows epidermis, mesophyll and vascular bundles. So, dicot leaf that epidermis present on both sides. Upper side called adaxial epidermis or ventral epidermis. Lower side called abaxial or dorsal epidermis. Then both sides, that epidermal cells, unilayered, living cells, contains vacuolated protoplast, then living cells have nucleus and cytoplasm, then this epidermis is covered by cutin. That cutin forms cuticle, and in dicot leaf this epidermis contains multicellular hairs. Then, because of that cuticle reduce transpiration. So generally, transpiration takes place through stomata and also help in respiration. But the cuticle, they reduce transpiration. Then, stomata, both epidermis contain stomata. But stomatas unequally distributed compared to upper epidermis. Lower side, more stomatas present. The stomata, stoma is surrounded by guard cells. They are reniform or kidney shaped or a bean shaped, having chloroplast, and they regulate opening and a closing of stomata. Then that guard cells surrounded by non-green epidermal cells called subsidiary cells. This is epidermis of dicot leaf. Then epidermis of monocot leaf. Even monocot epidermis present on both sides. Upper side called adaxial or ventral epidermis. Lower side called abaxial or dorsal epidermis. Even in grass leaves, epidermis contains living cells, vacuolated protoplast, then chloroplast is absent, then only in monocot leaf, that in some grasses, some of the upper epidermal cells, large and hygroscopic, called bulliform cells or motor cells. They are hygroscopic and stored water. Turgor changes in these motor or bulliform cells help in rolling and unrolling of leaf lamina. It means in dry conditions, these bulliform cells, by rolling that leaf lamina, they reduces that transpiration. Then both sides, that epidermis is surrounded by cuticle. Then both epidermis contains stomata, but in grass leaf stomata is equally distributed. Such condition is called amphystomata. And in grass leaf, that epidermis is without that outgrowths or hairs. In grass leaf, there is stomata. It has turgorate operated valve, but point is that valve enclosed by guard cells, but that guard cells are dumbbell shaped in monocots. The next one, mesophyll. The portion in between upper and lower epidermis is called mesophyll. Mesophyll present in both leaves, and mesophyll is dominantly that parenchymatous. In dicot leaf, that mesophyll is differentiated into upper palisade and lower sponge parenchyma. Lower sponge parenchyma. Palisade present towards adaxial side. Palisade cells columnar or cylindrical, closely arranged, either without or with narrow intercellular spaces present. And this palisade contains more number of chloroplasts. So point is, all these chloroplasts distributed at periphery, that is palisade. So it is more chloroplast. So upper side is dark green and it perform photosynthesis. Then next one, sponge parenchyma. The sponge parenchyma is towards abaxial. Here cells loosely and irregularly arranged. Loosely and irregularly arranged. So large intercellular spaces present. Then they contains chloroplast, but compared to palisade, in sponge less chloroplast is present. So lower side is light green. Lower side light green. So main function of sponge parenchyma is storing air, or it acts as ventilating tissue. Along with that aeration, it performs photosynthesis. So in dicot leaf, upper side there is palisade, which is dark green. Lower side there is sponge, which is light green. So upper and lower sides are differentiated. So it is called dorsiventral leaf or bifacial leaf. Then in monocots, there is mesophyll between upper and lower epidermis, but in monocot leaf, entire mesophyll is having same type of cells. It means mesophyll is undifferentiated. Complete mesophyll is made up of columnar or cylindrical cells, and all mesophyll cells contains same number of chloroplast. So that is why grass leaf is undifferentiated, so it is called unifacial or isobilateral leaf. Unifacial or isobilateral leaf. The next one is a vascular bundles. Actually, these vascular bundles, they forms that veins or that veinlets, and that veins and veinlets, they provide mechanical support to that leaf lamina, and all vascular bundles shows similar structure. All vascular bundles are enclosed by bundle sheath. That bundle sheath is made up of parenchyma, so it is called border parenchyma. Among vascular bundles, generally xylem towards adaxial, upper side, then phloem towards lower side. It means both xylem and phloem present on same radius, called a collateral. Then xylem and phloem both are joined, called a conjoint. Between xylem and phloem, cambium is absent, called closed vascular bundles. Vascular bundles, collateral, conjoint and closed in both leaves, dicot and monocot leaves. Generally in monocot leaf, these vascular bundles surrounded by sheath called a bundle sheath or border parenchyma. In some plants, bundle sheath is 2 rows of cells. Among 2 rows, outer row contains chloroplast, and inner row, it shows, inner row shows Casparian thickenings. So this inner layer is analogous to endodermis. But in maize, bundle sheath is surrounded by Maize bundle sheath has one layer and it contains chloroplast. So in monocots, in some monocots, there is Kranz anatomy. The monocots, they shows Kranz anatomy. Kranz anatomy reflects that a bundle sheath cells. These bundle sheath cells, large, thick-walled, without intercellular spaces, and they are impermeable. Rightly, these bundle sheath cells, they appears like garland of flower called a kranz, that is German word, and in English called a wreath-like, present in some monocots. And generally, such monocots are called C4 plants. C4 plants, and in C4 plants, two types of chloroplast is present. One is mesophyll chloroplast. Mesophyll chloroplast. Mesophyll chloroplast, it contains grana, so it is called granule chloroplast. Bundle sheath chloroplast, it is without grana, called agranule chloroplast. Such condition is called chloroplast dimorphism. Example for chloroplast dimorphism: sugarcane, maize, and sorghum. Then, after bundle sheath, upper side there is xylem, lower side there is phloem. So, even in monocots, vascular bundles, collateral, conjoint, and closed. Collateral, conjoint, closed. So, both leaves, vascular bundles, collateral, conjoint, and closed. But only in one plant, Cycas leaflet. In Cycas leaflet, in between xylem and phloem, non-functional cambium is present. So, open vascular bundles. So, if question, leaf with open vascular bundles, that is what? Cycas leaflet. Then, now, differences between dicot and monocot leaf. First one, in dicot leaf, both the sides or both the epidermis contains multicellular outgrowths or multicellular hairs. They present in dicot leaf. But these multicellular outgrowths absent in monocot leaf. Second one, in dicot leaves, stomata unequally distributed. More number of stomata confined to lower epidermis. More stomata confined to lower epidermis. Rightly it is called potato type. In grass leaf, stomata is equally distributed. So it is called amphistomata, or rightly it is called oat type. Then only in grass leaf that some of the upper epidermal cells modified, called motor cells or bulliform cells, present in monocot leaf absent in dicot leaf. And in dicot leaf, mesophyll is differentiated. In dicot leaf, mesophyll is differentiated into upper palisade and lower sponge. Then point is, this palisade is towards upper side adaxial, and it contains more chloroplast. It has more chloroplast. So upper side is dark green. Lower side, there is sponge parenchyma. The sponge parenchyma contains less chloroplast. So lower side is light green. So it shows upper dark green, lower light green. Such leaf is called dorsiventral leaf or bifacial. In grass, monocot leaf, mesophyll is undifferentiated, no palisade and sponge, and entire mesophyll contains equal number of chloroplast. So grass leaf is same in both sides, so it is called isobilateral leaf. Isobilateral leaf. Then in a grass leaf, generally 2 rows of bundle sheath is present. But in dicot leaf, only 1 row of bundle sheath is present. In most of the monocots, they shows chloroplast even in bundle sheath. Means bundle sheath chloroplast and a mesophyll chloroplast. And mesophyll chloroplast is granule and a bundle sheath chloroplast is agranule. So chloroplast dimorphism shown by most of the monocots. And this monocot shows Cran's anatomy, which reflects bundle sheath cells. In dicot leaf, no Cran's anatomy, 1 or 2 exceptional, but no Cran's anatomy, and bundle sheath cells does not contain chloroplast. In a dicot leaf, the stomata shows kidney shaped or reniform God cells. In a grass leaf, generally God cells are dumbbell shaped. Then most of the cases epidermis is unilayered, but some dicots like a nerium, epidermis is multilayered. Multiple leaf epidermis, nerium. If question, multiple leaf epidermis, nerium, that is dicot leaf. Multiple root epidermis, that is epiphytes, velamin tissue. One more important point, only in a nerium, palisade present on both sides. Generally palisade is towards upper side, but in nerium, that palisade present on both sides. So that is why nerium is called pseudo dorsiventral leaf, nerium. Then in some plants like nymphea, that mesophyll cells contain scleroids that too star shaped. Astroscleroids, called astroscleroids in nerium. In some grasses, generally these silica crystals are present. Grasses contain silica crystals, absent in this dicot leaf. These are differences and some important features of that leaf. Then one more point. This bundle sheath cells on upper side and also lower side, they undergo division and forms a cells called bundle sheath extensions. So, bundle sheath extensions present in both dicot leaf and also monocot leaf. In dicot leaf, bundle sheath extensions are colonchimatous, then they provide mechanical support. What type of mechanical support means? Elasticity or a tensile strength. In grass leaf, these bundle sheath extensions are sclerenchymatous, and they provide only mechanical support. Among vascular bundles, root radial vascular bundles, stems and leaves collateral vascular bundles, collateral vascular bundles, they are conjoint and open, collateral conjoint open, only dicot stem. Monocot stem and both leaves, vascular bundles are collateral, they are joined directly without cambium, so called closed vascular bundles. So, if question, open type of vascular bundles means present in gymnosperms and a dicot stem. If question, closed type of vascular bundles present in means root and leaves. If question, radial and closed vascular bundles, root. If question, collateral and closed vascular bundles, monocot stem and both leaves. Already I discussed one point. What is that point means? That in cycas leaflet, between xylem and phloem, non-functional cambium is present. So, open type of vascular bundle. So, if question, leaf with open type of vascular bundles means cycas leaflet. And in cycas leaflet, it shows centripetal and centrifugal xylem. That condition is called diploxylic. So, diploxylic and open type of vascular bundles present in cycas leaflet. And one more point about cycas. Actually, in cycas, cycas is gymnosperm. It shows xerophytic adaptations. Then point is, in cycas leaflet, there is only midrib and lateral veins are absent. And instead of lateral veins, in cycas leaflet, between palisade and sponge parenchyma, in between palisade and sponge parenchyma, transversely elongated cells present, rightly called transfusion tissue. This transfusion tissue perform the function of that lateral veins, means a lateral conduction.